Them's Fighting Words VR.
We've got this. We got the spectator going. And you
All
guys
right.
are a go.
So Xin, you're the default speaker, right?
All right. Looks like we're in here.
Heyo, welcome, ladies. Once again, we are back at it. SupahEM and Solly with some special guests, but I'm not in the ring this time. Welcome to Them's Fighting Words. You already know, ladies and gentlemen, where we talk some shit and land some hits. And we got some special guests in the building. I'm gonna let Solly take it from here because I'm not even in the ring. Solly, who we got up in the ring today?
Today we got two special guests. The whole team behind VFC. We got Xin and Yang.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh.
Yeah, hey,
Pleasure to be
hello.
here.
It's Shane from VFC, and Yang is in Discord. So, in-game, in Discord, we are here.
And I'm
Yeah,
Solly. We're in the ring together. We're gonna be throwing some punches, but Yang and Mario are gonna be, Yang and Super are gonna be talking as well. We might talk to their voices, or we might just talk to each other.
I got a question. Before we get started in this Q&A, are your fingers moving?
Yeah, hand gestures.
Yeah.
What?
This feature is been in the game for a while,
I have not enabled hand gestures this whole time. I could be throwing up peace signs. You mean to tell me I've just been here with the rec man? You know what?
Yeah.
We're gonna learn some cool stuff today.
Kung fu setup, movements.
What? Oh
And,
man.
I have so many hidden features in the game that makes no sense.
Oh, that's awesome.
Camera.
I always turn them off because I find that they the little menu gets in my way when I'm fighting.
Yeah.
But it'd be cool if you could use them, just through a little eye poke.
That'd be sick.
We're thinking about using this as like an eye jab thingy.
Ooh, oh no, we're definitely gonna get into it today. So, Solly, what do we have first? We're gonna just go rounds, right, until we just get as much information out of these guys as possible for the people. So, what do we want to talk about first?
I think our first question is, tell us a little bit about the game. What's it like making a VR fighting game, if arguably one of the first VR fighting games?
Yeah, I'll go first, and then Yang can probably chime in because he's the main developer of the game. So what I do in the team is basically at first I do some community management, marketing, stuff like that, and also I help out with the game design. So at the beginning when VFC first launched as a beta, this is very even new. The VR as a concept is still very new even back then, let alone fighting in VR. So back then it's more like trading into unknown territories and then just dive deep into the the unknown of the unknown. So basically, yeah, I mean it is pretty much learning, as well as it's very difficult in the sense that the VR community was small and finding a crowd within a small community, but at the same time it's good because the community is very passionate. So that's the experience. So I don't know what Yang felt like because he's the developer.
Yeah, we got to get inside of the mind.
Yeah, so we gotta ask Yang. Yang, what's it like to make this game?
It's a pain. Well, it's technically so complicated, and to be honest, it's not. If you're a startup and it's not the perfect project to do at the beginning. As you can see, there are still not so many games allows you to do fist-to-fist PvP online. So I think that sort of proved how complicated it is. A lot of other teams or companies using the same amount of time, you probably have 5 games, but we got one. But I'm still proud of it. You do something truly unique. So in that sense,
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
sure. I mean, I gotta say, I appreciate the labor of love. Just playing the game, you can see some of the boundaries that you run up against in doing something like this? Like right now, you guys are in Australia, we're in East Coast of the US. 200 millisecond delay, like that's enough to, like how do you deal with like questions of like ping or like, what happens when your fist goes past the body, or there's a lot of like interesting philosophy, like gameplay philosophy stuff. I'm curious how you answered some of that.
Yeah, so I think one thing that maybe is worth bragging about when it comes to VFC. So in my point of view, you can see the current latency is 200 milliseconds. So in most games, let alone VR, right, that's an unplayable that's an unplayable ping to play with in a multiplayer game. And we are very proud of the fact that VFC has we did a lot of work in this regard in terms of ping compensation, because I go around other VR titles, I play many other games, and I think VFC is the only fighting game in VR that offers a smooth enough play experience, even under such extreme latency situation. And that is, we invested a lot of effort in that because we know for a fact that VR community is still pretty small. And especially for players like in Australia, like us, the chances of us meeting another Australian players online is very slim. So if you see it from perspective of Australian player like us, this feature is a must-have, because 80% of the time we'll be playing against players from North America, from Europe, and if the ping is always 200 something like that, no, you can't play the game. So to make VFC work, so this is a must-have feature in our opinion, and I think we kind of executed it pretty well.
I've got a question for you, Solly. Let me jump in on that netcode conversation real quick, because it's very interesting. Is there, when you talk about the conversation with ping, right, and how you guys have worked on it, first of all, big kudos, because you're right, that's a huge thing, and that philosophy should be accepted by a lot of people. Like, are you guys using like a rollback netcode kind of situation, or is it delay based, if you can talk about that? Because like, it's very important, especially in this online era where everyone's very concerned with their connection speed with their in a PvP game. So is that the solution that you guys went to, or did you guys find another custom way to do it that you can't talk about?
No, we can't. I want the community to grow, and in a way, I also want other competitions, so to make the scenario bigger. It's a lot of things in combined, not one mechanics that solves everything. So, for example, I implemented some artificial intelligence to predict what you're doing in the next, for example, 50 milliseconds. It could be wrong. If it's wrong, it will autocorrect. But in a way, it synchronize the anticipated result to your opponent. And also, I find the game takes note of what you're doing, and when it finds some of the time that you're not doing very time sensitive things, it will slow down your movement a tiny bit, so give you a tiny bit of delay, which you probably won't notice. So in your end, you have a tiny bit of delay, and in your opponent end, they see the anticipated result. So it's sort of catching up. There are other things, like using the program, it will slightly adjust the animation. Well, I don't know what to say for now, but the opponent you see, their gesture is a tiny bit different with what they're actually doing. But if they are very different, if the prediction is wrong, it will autocorrect. So many factors combined.
Wow, it takes that much level of care and detail to really, anticipate what two random people are going to do, 200 miles away from each other. That's pretty awesome to know that it was a multi-pronged a solution to something that absolutely needed to be solved for PvP. Would you say that this was the hardest thing to do in developing a VR fighting game, or were there other challenges?
Yeah, every bit there are challenges in every front, but this is the biggest one. Because it breaks the game if it doesn't work.
I will say from a player perspective, right? Like me and Jin right now, like just doing some glove work, like across the world essentially. He's basically, pretty close to where I'm putting it, and we're like making contact most time.
Yeah. This looks like some solid training work you guys got going on in there.
Yeah.
By the way, fighting work training mode is something that we're working on.
What?
Right?
What? You heard it here first,
Yeah.
folks. You heard it here first. Pad work training mode coming down the pike.
So
Yeah,
in that mode,
yeah.
there will be no time. Well, there will be time limit, but the time limit will be very long. So basically, it's like a routine training place for people who know each other to come online, have a little warm up before the fight, something like that.
That's perfect.
Makes sense.
That's
Yeah,
so.
hopefully I can find a
Alright,
way to.
We'll just do a
put
rematch
it
with
up.
same characters after this. Just keep it
Yeah.
going.
We can change character if you want.
Yeah, keep it interesting.
Yeah, or choose Miro.
I like Mira.
Big poison.
I'll do
Big
Mulan.
How do you like his
my
hair?
girl.
How do you like Miro's hair?
Mira's hair is the
Mira's
best.
hair is amazing.
Legendary, son. Best hair in the VR combat business, especially with that new
Is it
update that gave him that
controversial?
volume. Oh, love it.
Yeah. In the short history of VR fighting, the best here right now.
He's got the best. He's got the best, man. Like, I need whatever product he's using. That's what I need.
All right. I think we're back in. There we go.
All right. I think we've learned that the observer will stay with us, and there you guys are. We back, baby.
Here we go.
New characters for a couple of rounds. So we were talking about the bag work game mode that's coming along. So I believe, Yang, you were saying that it's something where two people can kind of jump into an extended session and just warm up or train or duke it out before a fight.
Yeah, it's we call it pad work mode. So one person holds the pad for the other person to train. Because in real life, actually, we show the game. I show the game to a lot of friends and friends' friends. I find that many more people actually they're anticipating they want a collaborative mode rather than only PvP. So especially people who like usually go to the gym and they have a training partner, or they get used to train with other people, but because of the COVID and people change their routine, some people moved away, gyms are closing. But if there is a VR mode that allows them to stay in their home and still keep training as before, that's something that excites them more than PvP.
I love it. I mean, look,
That makes sense.
Yeah, I've got friends who would never want to step into this for competitive reasons. Hell, my fiance doesn't want to step into this for competitive reasons, but she plays the fitness boxing games, and I'm like, why don't you want to play this? This is better. But now we can get in there and do some pad work, and I think you guys are the first to really do cooperative pad work. It's usually like a computer, right? Solly, have you ever come across that before?
Not in my experience, and I'll say that like something that's nice here is even in like a competitive match, you can kind of like slow down and then just be like, even to a new player. I've done this a few times where you just kind of explain the mechanics, like hit them in the face, show them how the stun works, show them that they can like use the dash, move around, and then like do another rematch afterwards where like they're like, all right, let's play with with the rules. yeah, even spoiler to our other video, right? Like me and you were doing a whole training session there. Like it's already, you just have to take off the score and the knockouts, and like it's already a training mode. And that's like I think the funnest part of at least for me playing some of these games, right? Is it feels like you're in the gym with your buddy. You're just throwing goofy shots. You're not taking things too seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. I found it fun too. I learned a bunch. I learned more about the game in that one session than trying to fight a bunch of other people. You know, just to be able to calm down and go at my own pace. You know, I'm like, oh, okay, I actually trying to hit a moving target. Like that's big. It's very huge. And I think that for all of those people listening out there and watching this on YouTube, if you're going to start a content creation career, you might want to become a personal VR trainer. It's going to be a thing. You know, it's a thing now, well, in the future anyway.
Yeah, also it's the idea that if I just match up with a random stranger to do a face-to-face combat, for many people it feels intimidating, feels out of their comfort zone. But people can do that in a fighting gym, right? The other people they face, they already know day to day, so they already get familiar with each other, and then the next step is that they can do sparring.
Yeah, full on VR classes, man. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. So, a question for you guys. So thinking about this, you guys are actually building the world of VR combat sports beyond just PvP matches, right? So what are your thoughts on VR esports and VR combat sports in general? I mean, I assume that you guys have great thoughts about them since you kind of make the game, but just like how do you guys feel about that in general?
Xin?
Yeah, I think my opinion on the VR esports as a whole is that it's not guaranteed. It very much rests on like us and other VR developers as well as community builders like yourselves. It rests on our shoulders to make it a thing. If we don't do enough of a good job, VR esport will not become a thing. It's not guaranteed. It's not a guaranteed future, in my opinion. So, under that opinion, I think to make it become a thing, you really have to become a thing of its own. It cannot be the perception of that virtual reality is just like a simulation of reality sports, like a VR table tennis game, a VR fighting game, where it's just like if we treat VR fighting as a simulation of fighting, we can never become bigger than UFC. Like UFC is always going to be bigger than VR sport. So we really have to think about VR sports as a category of its own instead of a mimic of a real world competition. So
yeah.
So basically, that has to come from both the game design as well as branding, as well as organizational, the whole setup.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting that you said that. I think you guys seem to think a lot about the philosophy of the game and like what it means to actually be a VR esport or a VR fighting game as opposed to just a VR like combat simulator. And like as someone who's played this game a lot, I really appreciate that like I can play this game kind of like I'm a fighter, but also like I can kind of use my imagination and go a little wacky and just like throw a million punches and just have some fun with it. How do you balance those two things? The people who want this to be an authentic fighting experience and the people who want to just throw a million punches and feel good.
Yeah. So in terms of how to balance it, well, it's an iterative process that involves like community feedbacks and stuff like that. So that is why in our official Discord, we constantly engage with players who play games, like ask them how they think. And usually we get two types of players. Like one type of player that only likes purest boxing fighting. They don't like any special abilities. They want the real boxing experience in VR. And there's other type of players that appreciates the gaming effect, right? The gaming effect in terms of special abilities and the other things that you cannot experience in real life, quite frankly. So some people come for the VR in terms of what VR can bring, like unique thing that only VR can bring to experience. So to balance those two things together, so first we have to set a vision. So our vision is to merge the best of both worlds, where in terms of the realism of the fighting, we really want to translate that into the VR world, where actual fighting skills does matter. Your stamina, your strength does matter in real world, but also at the same time, another layer on top of that, the gaming sensation. Whereas we all in our childhood, I believe, regardless of gender, I think if you're a guy or a girl, you always have this superpower fantasy, right? So virtual reality is a chance to bring that into into the metaverse, the virtual reality, right? So why
Absolutely.
are we satisfied with just simulating reality, where we could potentially make something better than reality, right?
Absolutely.
And
I will say one. Oh, go on.
yeah, no, yeah, keep going.
No, I feel that, especially, and like it's a really fine balance to reach because like it's very easy to make a more super powered mechanic, like I can shoot a beam and like just stand back and just do that, and it kind of breaks the experience.
Yeah.
But with the really subtle, like the dash mechanic, I love because it's it lets you be a little bit faster than you actually are in real life.
Yeah.
I was showing Super the other day, just you can like dash behind people, and it's got that like anime feel effect to it, where it's like, oh, I'm a super good fighter.
It's like hitting and then suddenly you're gone and then you're back at the back.
Yeah. Doing it in moderate, your real life fighting skill definitely still matter. Uh, we don't want to do a Dragon Ball in VR. Well, that sounds like a fun game, but that's not the purpose for VFC. And also for people who want the purist fighter, right? Who wants to train, want something realistic to train. We don't have to take side, but it doesn't have to be in VFC, right? We can build other tools. Um, I think I use the word tool because for people who wants to train, for them to be an actually better fighter, if they probably want to step in ring, do real life competitive fighting, what you really want is a tool, not a game. So what you really want is somebody built maybe not just one, a series, a collection of tools that train your muscle, your endurance, purposely built, not just a game.
Like that. What do you find are like the biggest like limitations in being able to, like, either in the hardware and the software, and like enabling a better VR fighting experience?
Well, I think in the biggest constraint obviously is tracking. So right now with the modern VR, we only have two hands that provides accurate position information. Ideally, you will have full body tracking, and I think that's coming down the pipeline in terms of, I think, what the Meta and the Pico are working at. But right now, we only have head and two hands to work with, so that is a constraint that a fighting game like us have to contend with. Whereas, because right now we are trying to build a fighting game, but because we only track hands, so that is essentially the lower body is taken out of the equation. And apart from that, I think for fighting games, it's not too much about the visuals, right? So the visuals are not too much of a factor when it comes to fitness and fighting games like VFC.
Cool.
Now we're talking about hardwares, right? I think you forgot to mention the price.
That's a good one.
I showed VFC and other sports game to a lot of friends. They love it. They like it. It's really impressed. But when it comes to actually purchasing one, because for them VR is not essential, right? They have their own entertainment. Even for gamers, they're pretty satisfied with their PlayStation or PC. But for them, VR is not essential, and buying one just to play some games, that's one of the biggest limitation in my opinion. If it's cheaper, or if we, for example, that's why we're also developing other sports games. We want to make a collection. So we try to convince people that if VR can replace your treadmill, your bicycle machine, your like a whole set of home fitness tools, then it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got a question
Absolutely.
because you brought up a good point with the hardware and pricing. Two-part question for you guys. Have you tried Meta's, or have you, are you going to try rather, any experimentation with Meta's new self-tracking controllers? Do you think that's going to provide any advantage to the tracking that you see so far? So we'll start with that one first.
You mean the Quest Pro, right?
Yeah, the Quest Pro controllers. Yeah, do you think they're gonna help people who are playing because that's really your main point of information for tracking is the controllers. So with them being self-tracked, do you think that's gonna help with combat sports games?
Oh, yes, definitely. With the technology itself, it's self-tracking, which enables multiple trackers, so you
Mm-hmm.
can track the whole body for sure. I tried it, but unfortunately, maybe for now they only come with two controllers. So when I try it, it only has two controllers, and to be honest, it doesn't feel too different from Quest 2.
Mm-hmm.
So if in the future it comes with multiple controllers to track your body, your fit, then definitely. But then the price becomes a bigger problem
Right,
because
right.
now it's super, super expensive.
Absolutely. Okay, so there's another question that I have. Now, I remember way back in the day, right? Early days of VFC, you guys were throwing kicks in very early alpha build. Okay, we need to talk about that. What's going on? Can we still throw kicks in VFC? Or is that no
Uh,
longer a thing?
well, to be honest, VFC is not when it started, it's not a very serious business initiative. So it was sort of like playing. We think it's fun, it's cool, so we built it. Initially, we use the motion capture suit, the motion capture suit for creating animations. For
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
it's
what
not a
that
consumer
was.
product. Yeah, it's not a consumer product, and every time if you want to play the game, the setup like you wear the whole suite and set up everything, connect the hardware and software. It's like a good half an hour gone. So
Okay, I was just trying to see what was the price point. Where do I have to get in to throw a flying knee in VR? Okay, all right. One more question for me, and it relates to what you said earlier that VR is not a non-essential is a non-essential entertainment device for a lot of people. If you're into VR, you have it, but if you have your PS5 or something, your PS4, chances are you might not have it. But right around the corner, the PSVR 2 is dropping. Do you guys see yourself making a port of VFC for the PSVR 2 anytime in the future?
yes, I would love to do it. I think PSVR taps to a special market that nobody can.
Mm-hmm.
For people who already on that platform, they're talking that language. I myself, I have the PlayStation, I have PC, I have all the VR, but I understand these people who play PlayStation, they don't look elsewhere.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah. So definitely, it just depends on whether or not I have the capacity of doing it because still we're a tiny indie. We don't have a lot of people. We don't have the manpower like many of our so-called competitors or uh, yeah. So I'll find a way. I'll try my best.
Look, we'd be looking. I think it's a special. I'm with you. It's a special untapped market, and I don't think that community is going to have an experience like a VFC. I know you say you got competitors, man, but honestly, I tell you right now, with what you guys are endeavoring to do, there are very few of you guys out there who are actually stepping forth and doing this, and so anyone following in your footsteps will quickly realize how challenging this type of game can be to develop.
Hmm. Speaking about like things that inspire, like were there any video games that inspired you when you were making this game? Like, what do you use as like a reference or as like you're trying to use as like a model roughly?
Same
Yeah, I think
thing.
back in
You mentioned
early
anime.
days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, back in early days, Young's always say like he wants to bring like Street Fighter into VR. So I bet Street Fighter is a big inspiration for Young when he envisioned this game. And also like during development, we watched together all the animes. One thing comes to mind is the Kengan Nasura.
Ooh,
I don't know if you
yeah.
watched the anime on Netflix.
Yeah.
So like the martial arts displayed in the anime combined with the visual effect, like the sense of impact, the sense of impact as well as the sense of power, and I would think, hey, I would think we can really translate that into VR and make people really feel like they are those anime characters, and in terms of visual aesthetics and sense of impact, we took some inspiration from like fighting animes as well.
Yeah.
I'm here for
No,
it.
it definitely has that feel to it, and I think anyone who ever read or watched an anime or manga and wanted to, live out their boxing fighting experience, like this is the closest you're gonna get of anything I found so far. Especially against another player, I think like that experience by itself is like so niche in VR. Because like there's just such a bigger range of interactions you can do with each other. Like you've got almost full motion capture for your hands and head. Like that lets you do a lot.
Another interesting thing is that like at first we didn't really know Striking Viper in Black Mirror. I don't know if you know that.
Oh yeah, infamous Striking Vipers. Yep.
Yeah, at first we didn't really know it, and when we post like VFC clips online into Reddit, stuff like that, and we start seeing people quoting like Striking Viper, we didn't know what that was, and then we went back and had a look, and it's like it was amazing like how much similarity in VFC it became the Striking Viper. And especially
awesome.
like in our Discord, some guys choosing female characters in VFC and then doing all these moves. It's a little bit dangerously close to Striking Viper.
Look, you can't get too close to a culture phenomenon like Black Mirror, and especially the Striking Vipers episode. I'm surprised no one remade content with it. I'm pretty sure once the right people get in their hands on it, we're definitely going to see some of those.
Yeah, with quotation marks, right people with hands on it.
Right. Oh man, so I love to hear where the game came from and to know that the creators have such good roots, right? Okay, you named Kengan Ashura off the top, and I was just like, yeah, man, you could have named Kengan Ashura, Baki, Hajime no Ippo, all that. Like we try to imitate a lot of those moves that we see in the anime in the game. But going forward, I mean, what other things influenced the game design though? So we had the idea of bringing Street Fighter into the virtual space, right? And we had anime, combat sport references. Were there any other martial arts styles or anything else that kind of played into the development of VFC?
Yeah, I've consulted. My father is a kung fu champion. Was a kung fu champion in China. Shaolin. I'm not sure if you watched the first Shaolin Temple movie. So he's one of the main cast.
What? Get out of here!
I can link you.
Yes,
So,
please.
Yeah,
Link in the description.
he and many of his friends give me some informations like in kung fu or in a lot of martial art like karate. So when you punch, your other hand that is not punching needs to fast withdraw, and your hands, the punching hand also rotate. I'm sure it's generally applicable in all the martial art or more than boxing. So all these sort of mechanics, they are taken into consideration in VFC's damage calculation a little bit. So I don't want to exaggerate it. So for example, the fist rotation, if it's correctly rotated or if the other hand is quickly withdrawn at the same time, it will give you like 10%, 20% of added damage. But if you don't know it, if you just following your instinct or doing your generally boxing move, it will still be fine. You can still win the game. So just some subtle touch.
Look, we need to get into some of
I
these
will say I
secrets
appreciate
here.
it because I have a bit of boxing experience. I've done a little other like martial arts, and it's always amazing to see how many of them and like what different concepts from them transfer over. So like, you can do like hammer fist strikes, you can do weird shots, or you can even like do different guards. And I will say like the elbows in particular are better than a lot of other games I've played in terms of tracking.
So maybe we need to give some visual to so for example, you withdraw the other hand or you rotate your hand your fist. If this could trigger some special effect to tell you that you have done something. To be honest, is the mechanics are not very communicative, which we're still working with.
Look, if we can help with that, you know what I'm saying? Look, we're
I
gonna
will say
throw it out
a lot
there.
of this game. I feel like a lot of this game is maybe not like most of it's intuitive, and some of the finer mechanics are learnable, but maybe not immediately intuitive. But very easy to put into practice. I will say it's almost. Do you ever see people like developing their own special style for like that's not useful in real life sports, not useful in like self defense, but is incredibly good in this game. That like is just a VR fighting style.
Well, if you join our competition, you'll face all kinds of fighters. A little plug-in for our upcoming VFC competition.
Absolutely.
So basically, I think from my own experience, there's a guy in the Philippines called Maps. His fighting style is very unique. Where I think it's probably not useless in real life. I think he derived his style from his like a Filipino traditional martial art, where he uses his hand like a whip, pretty much like a whip kind of fight. And it's surprisingly effective in VFC because in VFC, as you know, in real life, your coach usually tells you to put your weight behind your punch, where like your joints should be locked, where you have to push your, not push your punch, but every punch you have your body weights lean into it, right? But if you're using your hand like a whip, you're basically sacrificing power for speed, right? But in VFC, because it's hard to take a person's body weight into account, so that kind of strikes actually is a little bit OP. So,
talking about that, I want to highlight that VFC is actually very female friendly. Maybe not visually, but mechanically, it's actually very female friendly because usually the female players they're less powerful, right? But it's not necessarily mean they're slower. If they can, because in VR, it will never accurately measure your power, but it can only measure your posture and how fast your fist is. So if you are a very technical female player, you can definitely compete with male players in VFC.
Very good point to note because a lot of folks, and that'll also extend to folks who have maybe frailer statues as well, just like folks who are just lighter on weight. So I get a lot of questions that says, oh, does my weight matter? Or, man, I'm not really a heavyweight or a real big guy. So to know that speed is of utmost importance in this game is crucial. Question for you guys, are there any other physical attributes that can prove beneficial? So I was like, does it like height or arm length? Does that matter when people are fighting?
Yeah, you're spot on. Height and arm length is really beneficial in this game because if the higher you are, presumably your reach will be longer as well. That means you can keep your opponent at distance. You can go around his block, right? If he blocks like that, you can your arm is long enough to go around it. But I think shorter guy has opportunity because if you're shorter, you can duck under and then really hit the body, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you are talking about real life, right? That's real life. In real life, you if you are taller, you have your advantage, but shorter fighters like Michael Tyson, they can still do it. And also, ultimately it comes to your technique and stamina. I would say stamina probably plays the vital role here in VFC. It's very similar to play a full VFC game compared with in real life boxing.
Mm-hmm.
It's very tiring. I'm not
Absolutely.
sure if you pay attention to one of the YouTube channel called 30 Minutes VR. So they track how much calories burnt in a 30-minute session, and I'm pretty sure VFC still holds the record.
I could believe it. Every time I've played, it's just been like 5 minutes in. You know, you just hear those competitors breathing heavy, and it takes a lot. And I think a friend of mine told me that missing a punch takes more stamina than landing a punch. Right, getting that big miss and having to deal with the recoil of your own speed, and essentially we're both shadow boxing it at high speeds, right? So just wailing away. Any word for you guys for upcoming competitors and players of the game, things to watch out for, maybe like a top 5 list of like, hey, you know, we already found out stamina is a big thing, so the first one's probably going to be breathe, right? But any quick tips to really just get your feet wet in this game and just like have the most fun on your first time out?
I think the biggest one is to learn the stun mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get hit first, you need to block and step back for about 1 second, because while you get stunned, your attack becomes very ineffective. Aside of that, everything just play a little bit, just play a tiny role. I think one of the other most important thing, I think, is not to care too much about winning or losing, because our community is really, really awesome. And I still, so far, I don't see mean players like they throw bad word or taunting, things like that. It doesn't exist here. So that's really amazing.
I actually been to some other communities, have a look around. I think one thing that our community has been, this is not like being what do you call, self-praising, whatever, but this is true. Our community the veteran players in our community have no visible ego. Like there's no ego, like flirting or whatever like that. Where I think for many other games, not just in VR, right? Traditional games in like competitive titles like CS:GO or League of Legends, stuff like that. There's just so much toxicity and ego signaling, things like that. And right now, I think VFC community is in like a honeymoon phase where everybody's super friendly, everybody's super welcoming, and there's like almost no ego involved in terms of the daily interaction.
Best time to join.
Yep.
Yeah, best time to join.
Speaking of that,
totally agree.
Speaking of that, let's go ahead and plug it for all the guys and gals listening out there right now. If you go on Steam and purchase this game, please be sure to check the link for the Discord. Join the Discord. Say what's up. You're going to meet all of us here. The devs are extremely active in the Discord. Solly is definitely super active as well. I lurk a bit, guys. Just going to be honest. I'll say shadow, hey, what's up, sometimes. But the community is awesome, and you have 4 people from 4 vantage points telling you this. So come on down. The water is absolutely fine here in the VR land.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. So as we get ready to come to a close here, any news, updates, or future things that you guys want to plug for the people to let them know what's coming down the pike? Of course, we've already the guys hugging it out. I love it. But yeah, anything you guys want to say and plug for the people coming in? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I think one thing that we will have an update, like a news update, but before that, I think I want to reiterate like VFC's core philosophy. So like I think we lightly touched on it before, where we really try to merge the best of both worlds in terms of realism with over the top, like larger than life gaming satisfaction. And I think I want to reiterate the point that VFC is still in active development, and right now we are trying to get the first part, where it's the realism part, on point. And after that, we'll be working towards bringing in more like fantasies, like what Yang have touched on, right? Like martial arts styles where you actually perform those techniques in game, and then it becomes like a special ability output where it affects the gameplay on a like a minor level, but it will not disrupt the core foundation where the realism is still taking the bigger picture, right? And I think that point is like I want to reiterate before the end. And for updates, I think Yang is working on a mode that is like the pipe mode. Of course, we already mentioned it, but also a highly requested mode that is purism mode, where people don't, for those players who don't want the special abilities, they really want to have a boxing type of fight. We don't want to leave those guys out. So Yang is working on something that is trying to satisfy those requests.
Ooh, it's gonna be great. I love it.
Respect the work. Thank you for thanks for helping build this community.
No,
Thank you so
guys.
much. I just want to reiterate that as a developer, the biggest happiness comes from when you release something that people care about, people playing it. And also you guys, I mean, you invite me in this interview and talking about this game. This is so satisfying. To be honest, it's not about the money. It's not about everything else. It's just you create something and people care about it. It feels so good. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. I mean, y'all are the ones who created it. Without you, we wouldn't have anything to latch onto and be super excited for. So the feeling is definitely it's good feels over here as well. And I just love it.
I'll say the only other thing it needs is the viewers. Like, you guys see this game, hear this interview, watch this, come and play, because the more people play it, the better, the more fun you'll have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it here for us here tonight. I just want to remind everyone, please go out on Steam. You can cop this game, Virtual Fight Championship. We call it VFC, but look that up, cop the game, hop in, throw some punches, participate in the tournaments. We've mentioned it briefly, but there are weekly tournaments. This community is active. It's on fire. You'll find friends. And yeah, that's it for us here at Them's Fightin' Words. Like I said, thank you to our guests today, Yang and Xin. You guys are amazing. I mean, rocking it all the time, and we try to do our best here too, Solly. we try to keep up. We're doing all right. But yeah, if you definitely like, share, and subscribe this video. Subscribe to this video if you like it, friend. We're gonna have more content here. We're gonna try to reach out to a bunch more people, show a bunch more tutorials on the game. Stick with us in the future. Yan and Xin might be back on to talk about updates in the future, so you never know. But keep it locked, and you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.
Thanks. Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers. All right.
And we are dark.